having the insight for this show, Inner Peace and the Beauty Within. That's Rufus Johnson of RealTruthinc Productions. As you know, if you've seen the show in the past, you know we do once again talk about a healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy soul. And we have focused on diet and nutrition and the various foods that you can eat to increase the power of your mind. We've talked about this being a new year, 2010, how we should let things in the past go and just focus on the present and looking forward to the future. We've talked about stress management on the last show and the things that you can do at no cost to relieve stress in your life, and the fact that it's important for all of us, especially because of these economic times and other things that are going on in the world. It's important for all of us to have a stress management program. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit following up on that, on one of the things that you can do to relieve some of the stress in your life. And one of those things is time management. I'm sure you've heard of that term, time management. I want you to think for a moment and identify a person that you admire. And then think about that person and ask yourself, why do you think that they are successful? Certainly, they had to be able to manage their time. Because without time management, it's very hard to be able to accomplish the goals and the objectives that you may have, that you have set for yourself. How do we use our time? Let's just think about that for a minute. We do things that we like to do before we do things that we do not like to do. We do things that are interesting before we do things that are not interesting. We do things that we know how to do before we do things that are difficult. We do things where we have available resources as opposed to doing things where we have to maybe seek out some resources. We do urgent things before we do important things. And a lot of times we're last minute. We know a deadline is 30 days away and we don't get started working on the project till maybe 10 days before the project is due. And we all know that these things, when we're pressed for time, that is an indicator, a factor for increasing the stress in your life and in your body. We do things that are in our ear, things that are demanding, the demands that come to us, the squeaky wheel concept, for example, and those are the things that we tend to do as opposed to the things that we should be doing. I want you to take a minute and realize right now that there are 168 hours in a week. One of the things that you can do first to begin to work on your time management is write down what you do every day and then or how long it takes to do that task every day, and then multiply it by 7. So you want to write down how many hours of sleep you get. You want to write down how many hours it takes you to groom, get ready, to get up and get going in the morning, and how long it takes for you to get yourself to go get into the bed. How long do you spend each day on meals and on snacks? How long do you spend traveling during the week or traveling on the weekend? How long each day do you spend on chores, work or school? And then how long do you spend socializing or dating or, on entertainment? And write down the hours that you spend on each of these items. And if there's some things, if you have there's some things that I didn't mention, do those as well, and then multiply them by 7. If you're over 168 hours, that's an indicator that you are way over the top and you need to cut some things out or spend less time doing some of the things that you're doing. Let's take travel, for example. If you spend the time to talk to yourself and determine where it is that you have to go each day, a lot of times we can cut down on our travel and we'll find ourselves, instead of running back and forth here and there, we go to the things that are all connected on the way to each other, for example. That's one way to cut down on travel. Another thing that you can do, once you realize how many hours you're spending on each thing, then that should tell you whether or not you need to cut down, because you don't need to be spending a total of 160 hours. You should have some free time left over. One of the things that I would recommend is that you have a personal calendar. Everyone should have a personal calendar because that helps you with organization, it helps you with goals and prioritizing, and it helps you with planning and analyzing the things that you're doing. I have begun to put just about everything in my planner so I can see what it is I need to do. Even if I have to make phone calls so that I don't forget, I put that phone call, I give it an appointment time in my calendar. And that's how I begin to see and realize the things that I'm doing, and that's what keeps me organized. I'm going to give you now a few strategies on how you can control your time and the things that you spend on your time. One of the things is paper control. You know how we get mail and we pick up the same piece of mail with all intentions of throwing it away, but for some reason it takes a couple of days before that piece of junk mail gets into the trash can. So my recommendation is try to make a commitment to yourself to only handle a piece of paper once. When you get the mail, either throw it in the trash. If it's junk mail and you're not going to be dealing with it, if it's a bill, then you should have an area where you place all of your bills. If it's something that you want to review at a later time, you can have a file for review later. But at least you're putting the paperwork away and it's not piling up in your house. The other thing you want to do is get your workplace organized. We all have workplaces in our home. Some of us have home offices. Some of us have various spaces in our homes, like in our dining room and things of that sort. But get your workplace organized, because if your workplace is cluttered, it tends to give you a feeling of being overwhelmed. And it also can clutter your mind so that you're not thinking clearly. Another strategy is to delegate. Do we have to do every single thing that we're doing? Are we doing all of the chores in our house? Can we delegate some things to our spouse or significant other? Or can we delegate some things to our children? It's not necessary for us to do every single thing. And there's two things I want to caution you on when it comes to time management. The first thing is time wasters. If you've decided when you got up today to do certain things, and let's say you get a phone call, or somebody comes by the house and they want you to, do something else, which is going to get you off of your schedule. You have to be aware of this. Or you get a phone call and you really don't have time to talk to that person on the phone. You need to consider these as being time wasters, because it's not that these things may not be important, but it's taking you away from what you had planned to do. Also, I want to talk to you a little bit about meetings. Do you go to meetings for the sake of going to a meeting? A friend calls you and says, let's go to this meeting, or you go to this meeting or this networking meeting. When you go to a meeting, or when you plan to go to a meeting, I want you to ask yourself this question. What is this meeting, or the activities in this meeting, or the information that I'm going to receive from this meeting, how is it going to help me accomplish my goals and objectives? If the meeting is not going to help you in some way accomplish your goals and objectives, then you need to consider it a time waster. It makes no sense to go. A lot of us meet half of our life away, and we find that all we're doing is going to meetings and we're really not accomplishing anything. The other thing I want to talk to you about is that procrastination. We all know what procrastination is. Oh, I have plenty of time, I'll put it off. So just try to focus on never putting off to tomorrow what you can do today. And then lastly, I want to ask you to ask yourself, do you value yourself? If you value yourself, then you will value your time. And time management is the way. It's an attitude. If you take yourself, like I said, seriously, then you value your time. That's what time management is all about, you and your time. So make a commitment this week to focus on time management and incorporate the goals and objectives that you want to accomplish. Next, I'd like to talk about Minority Health Month, which is in April. In the state of Ohio, April is considered Minority Health Month, and there's various activities and events going on throughout the state as well as in Cincinnati. And today we have two special guests on today who are going to talk to you about the activities that they're going to have at their organization. We have Pastor Reverend Cantrell of Zion Baptist Church, and we also have with us Dr. Lisa Green, who is going to be one of the speakers for this very important event that's going to take place on April 10th of this year. So I want you to mark that date on your calendar, save that date, because it's going to be important for you and your family. And we'll start off with Reverend Pastor Cantrell. Reverend Cantrell, can you give us an idea about the whole concept of Minority Health Month and how long your church has been participating in Minority Health Month?
Yes. Janie, our church has been a part of the Minority Health Month for now the last will be 7 years. And during this time, we have addressed some of the more important health issues that affect African Americans. We know that our people are lead in most of the outstanding illnesses that plague people in general. Diabetes, hypertension, prostate cancer, breast cancer, heart disease, and even obesity. So we seek to address these issues during the month of April and also in the course of the year. We do this through a forum that we hold in one setting, and the other setting is a health fair. And we do this because we know that many of our people do not have access to health care. And therefore, if we can bring health professionals such as we have this year in Dr. Green and other health professionals that will be present at our health fair on the 24th of April, we believe that it will give the proper knowledge that our people cannot receive on their own in the sense of paying for this health care knowledge. So we feel that as long as we can introduce and make aware to our people some of the causes as well as some of the remedies that can help them be healthier and also to deal with some of the issues that they may have, that they may live longer and they may make better choices in their lives in the eating, nutrition, and other issues that plague our people.
That's great, Reverend Cantrell, because we all know that if we're not healthy, there's very little that we can do in terms of being a productive citizen. So we all need to focus on being healthy. I see that your forum that's going to take place on April 10th, the topic is struggling to keep our children healthy. And then one of the subtopics is African American children, the state of their health. Dr. Green, can you talk a little bit about that?
African Americans in general have higher incidence of obesity, asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure. This starts in childhood. Childhood obesity rates among children in general are about 18%. And African Americans have a 51% increase in prevalence over white Americans. Hispanics have about 20% higher incidence in obesity than white Americans.